item for all Salon people and then party them. Sahara Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour and the Gladi program, Look Me and Look You. All this they start soon na www.saragemmedia.org. Now who's tem these?
As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sierra Gem Media Production brings you Zoom In. Zooming In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zooming In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zooming In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zooming In asks those questions that has never been asked before. So, join me with your host, Chuma Baba.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence. Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible acts.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now,
women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Of all the crimes committed against a person, rape is the one that leaves a person feeling very violated. A rape victim is often left with the feeling that a part of them has been torn apart.
To use another person's body and ignore the souls that resides within. is one of the most outstandingly shocking crimes that one person can commit against another.
Some men harass and rape their women.
Some men sexually abuse underage girls.
Some men beat and kill their wives.
Any form of sexual assault is unacceptable.
There must be consent before you act.
Being in a relationship is not consent.
If they are not sober, they can't consent.
Flirting is not a consent.
We had sex before is not consent.
Silence is not consent.
Only an informed, sober, freely given, ongoing and enthusiastic yes is consent.
Women should stop dying in silence.
A man does not become a real man by physically dominating a woman. A man becomes a real man by loving, protecting, and respecting the woman.
Real men do not rape or abuse women and children.
Let all real men stand with us. And together, let's say no to child abuse, no to domestic violence, no to all forms of rape, be it spousal rape, intimate partner rape, child sex abuse, statutory rape, date rape, serial rape, and gang rape.
We must rise up against this ugly trend.
Justice for one, justice for all.
All sexual assault must stop, and it must stop now.
I was raped multiple times by my aunt's boyfriend when I was 6.
I was repeatedly raped at the age of 8 by a close family member.
I was raped at 19. I didn't speak openly about it because I was ashamed and afraid that people would judge me.
I was raped at age 5 by my caregiver's husband.
On June 17th, 2020, 5-year-old Khadija Sakho, a beautiful little girl from Freetown, Sierra Leone, was repeatedly raped and strangled to death, allegedly by her own cousin. Her death shocked the nation. But in truth, in this small West African country, 9 out of 10 girls experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10. That's 90%. My name is Aisha Sase. I'm a journalist and activist. I'm joining forces with Idris Elba and other activists from across Sierra Leone to support the survivors of sexual violence with the Survivors Solidarity Fund. Please consider donating whatever you can afford. All monies raised will go to 4 local organizations currently providing free medical and legal services to survivors. 5-year-old Khadija lost her life to sexual violence. That same threat remains for millions of others. So this is also a call for you to use your voice, your power, to draw attention to an enduring culture of rape. Together, we must end it now. My name is Aisha Sase. I am Khadija Sakho.
I am Khadija Sakho. I am Khadija Sakho.
I am Khadija Sakho.
I am Khadija Sakho.
We are Khadija Sakho.
We are all Khadija Sakho.
To my friend, she was the brightest at our level, even though she was as innocent as the heaven. That did not stop Papa Abu at age 57 to ask for her hand in marriage as she turns 11. Her parents, being naive about this rage, tolerated this marriage, and this destroyed the hopes and dreams of Kadiatu to live like it in Seattle. Instead, she's been used as a tool by an old school. Kadiatu is being used as a bait by her own mate. My friend is being emotionally tortured by this old culture. Old child marriage, it's on the rampage like disease, eating up the fabric of our girl child image, and it's our duty to cage. Let's diverge. Please be obliged. It is now we emerge from this ancient custom at large.
If not for this dreadful event, Kadiatu could have become president, but now she has been trapped in an old man's residence, like a mosquito in a tent. She is vulnerable, but with her age, she is still able to become that virtuous woman of substance, like Madam Patricia Kaba, Madam Dr. Kadi Sise, Madam Sianyamako Oma, Madam Dr. Sylvia O'Blyden, Madam Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Oh yes, without child marriage, our girl child can still turn into Madam Hillary Clinton, Madam Theresa May. Be it as it may, Madam Condoleezza Rice. Let's not be hypnotized, but rather stay wise, for this can only be realized if education is being prioritized and child marriage is being criticized. So please, parents, do not relent, as it is apparent that a girl child can become great if only you patiently wait.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, me mama and me papa there, me brothers and sisters. This is Isaac Osisejalo on the Health Show live on Sierra Gem Media. And we are streaming from Facebook as well as YouTube. So even if you don't have a Facebook page, or you know someone who doesn't have an account on Facebook, and you think this is a topic that is very, very important, then please share it. We would share the YouTube, or you just search Sierra Gem Media on YouTube. There will be lots of videos that will come up, including this and many others that I've done over the past few weeks and months. So I will try to keep this today in Creole, because this conversation we get today is more for me and me people them. We and we people them, because with me, I get me the team behind Sierra Gem Media, our producer, our presenter or TV host, and our production manager and technical manager as well. They're all here. They're familiar faces, so I'm going to draw them in and out as we go along, because this is a conversation that is boring, that is depressing, but that is a realistic conversation to be had. We get to talk about them. Why? Because dying are one thing where we all get in common. People can say to me, why I like for talk but die? I don't like for talk but die because I enjoy for die or I look forward to die. No, I don't want for die either right now. But the reality is, it gets for come one day. And whether you find yourself in the diaspora or in Sierra Leone or any other part of the world, it is important that you prepare yourself. And preparing yourself doesn't mean that you're going to die tomorrow, or you're tempting fate, or you're preempting death. No. I have switched to English, by the way, because I've just noticed there's quite a number of viewers who are not from Sierra Leone. So please excuse me, non-Sierra Leoneans. If I switch to our Pidgin English, I'm sure you can understand it. And also there's a bit of subtitle going on as well. It will help you make sense of what I'm saying. So we will talk about death and dying today. And it matters. Why does dying matter? Because it is the one thing we all have in common, irrespective of whether we're black, we're white, we're tall, we're short, we're female or male, transgender or binary or whatever we are. That is the one thing we have in common, because we're immortal. So what do we need to do to make sure when that time comes, when death knocks on our door, how can the people who we leave behind, our loved ones, including our spouses, our children, our parents, our siblings, our friends, our acquaintances, our work colleagues, and even our employers, how can we leave them in a situation wherein they will be able to mourn us as well as possible, but also ensure that our wishes are carried through? Because in our country, they say the body not get sick. They say you will die now, you lost this. And what that means is the moment you die, you're powerless. You are powerless. So it doesn't matter whether you're somebody who said 50 times to 50 different people that, oh, when I die, I want to be cremated. As long as you've not put anything on paper, or it's not legalized, then sorry down the road can come when you die, and if they're the one leading your funeral, they can decide to say, no, I'm not gonna cremate this person because I don't believe in cremation. And because I don't believe in cremation, I'm actually going to bury this person. Not because you don't believe in cremation. Now it's changed. The goalpost has changed from your wishes and choices to their wishes and choices and decisions that they feel they would make on behalf of you. So hence the reason why we need to talk about death and dying and preparing ourselves and putting our house in order. I have this series that I call Put Your House in Order. And the reason why it's called Put Your House in Order is basically putting your house in order. When you come into your home, in the living room, you put your sofa. You don't put your bed in your living room and put your sofa in your bedroom. No, you don't put the laundry basket in the living room. Most times you either put it in your bedroom or in your bathroom, or if you've got a laundry room, you put it there. So there is a place for everything within your house. And that is why we call it Put Your House in Order. And that also accounts for putting your life in order. Putting your life in order, irrespective of who you are, what you have, and where you are, is very, very important, especially if you're an adult. For children, they're still under parental responsibility. The parents automatically have to make decisions for their children, be it alive or dead. But for us adults, it is very, very imperative for us to be in that position and place to be able to make sure whatever we want and have to do or would like to be done, not just about our funeral, but about our finances, about our wealth, whether it's liquid wealth or assets, or about our children, or about our family, our dependents. You know, you might be the one who is the main and sole responsible owner of your parents, and then you die, what plan did you put in place for them? Who is going to continue giving them their monthly allowance? Who is going to continue making sure that if they're sick, they go to hospital? So this is the reason why we say, put your house in order. So today we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to open it up to you all on as viewers. Please join us, have a conversation, drop it in and out, and then we can respond and have a chat as we go along. Because it is a very, very in-depth topic. We're going to do it justice in a generalized way. Come May, when there's a National Die in Matters Week in the United Kingdom, we are actually going to use that week to unfold a lot of the intricacies of what death means and all the bits and pieces of it. So we will do that. I will do a conference on that during that Dying Matters Week. But today we're just talking about putting your house in order, saving something for rainy day. We always say, back home, they say, always keep stick behind the mot. You don't know why when you neighbor dog the Chris, you know. They say always have contingency plan. Always have a plan B. In this country, in the Western world, they call it savings. Have some savings for rainy day. And part of that rainy day is your death, especially if you're a family person. If you're Joe Blogs and you're walking on the streets carefree, you don't have anyone to worry about, you don't have any children, any loved one, you're just you, then fine. Maybe this doesn't really matter to you. However, even as an individual who is just Joe Blogs walking around the streets, maybe you have your own beliefs. Maybe you have your own choices and wishes that you want to be put into practice once you are dead. And so the only way you're going to ensure that is by making sure it's legalized. And what do we mean by legalizing things? We mean putting things pen on paper. We mean writing things down, creating things like advanced care directives, creating things like a will, creating things like a lasting power of attorney. I hear a lot of time people talk about, oh, well, this time my next of kin. That's my next of kin. Now, what most people don't realize is your next of kin ceases to exist the moment you die. Your next of kin does not have any power of attorney over your health, your finances, or your wealth. It's very, very important for people to understand that. Your next of kin is a by proxy issue. So I've got mental capacity. I can appoint anyone to be my next of kin. I can appoint anyone to be my next of kin. And when they become my next of kin, they advocate on my behalf with my permission. However, once I lose the mental capacity, they can advocate, but they cannot make decision on my health and well-being, on my finances, or on my properties. By this, I mean they would not have any right to walk into a bank and say, I'm here on behalf of Isita Sisejalo, I want to withdraw £500. Hell no, because I'm the next of kin. Next of kin what? Hell no. So it's very, very important for us to look into these things, think about them, and then make sure we put things in place. I do understand, I take heed, I hear the fact that death is depressing, nobody likes it, it's a tragedy, it's sad, it's just not welcomed. Nobody welcomes death, nobody welcomes it. However, it is the only certainty we are faced with. So let us do things to make sure that we do the right thing so that when we die with respect and dignity, as well as we don't leave our loved ones behind in chaos. We deprive them of mourning us properly. Instead, whilst they're overwhelmed with grief, they're trying to make decisions on our behalf. So that is what I want us to talk about today. And I just want to say hello to everyone who is here. Yes, it's very realistic. Yes, somebody says put or set your house in order. It's a great topic. And somebody else says good topic. Good topic indeed, because I don't want anyone to take this personal, and I don't want anyone to feel aggrieved of what we're saying. But we all know, especially us in the Sierra Leonean diaspora within London, we all know what we've had to go through over the last 12 months. I can't speak for other parts of the world in the diasporas, but I know they have similar issues there as well, where finances has always become an issue, where people have died and there's not enough money to do their funeral. And it's been up to the community to chip in and do that, which is fine. That's what communities is all about. However, there comes a time when, you know, it's described, a brother once described it as donor fatigue. People who give, they become tired. They become tired of giving. And I always remind people when they're giving, I'm like, you're giving for this person. Have you put your house in order? Have you thought about this? Whilst you're giving this 10 pounds, this 20 pounds, this 30 pounds, 50 or 100 pounds, have you thought of the reason behind why you're giving this? Have you reflected on it to say, well, what if I was in this similar situation? Would I have to go through this? Would my family have to go through it? Now, myself and Brother Tala, we do it quite in a dignified and respectful way. And we do it in two forms. We have the funds we raise for just somebody who has been very known, well known in the community, and they're popular, and they've been, they've networked, they've been a go-to person. The community raises money just as a form of respect and cultural basis. Now, that is not those people I'm talking about. I'm talking about wherein we've had to raise money because there's no money for funeral funds. And we've wholeheartedly done it, but I'm speaking to us, the living. How can we mitigate these sort of situations? How can we make it better? And it's not just about our funeral. It's about our house affairs, our family affairs. We have a lot of single parents in our community with children under the age of 18. Who takes on guardianship if something happens to you? A lot of people think you have to be ill before you die. But we all know every day or every so often, there is a plane crash, there's a house burning like the Grenfell Tower. All those people in there weren't expecting to die that night or that morning. Some survived, some family members survived, some didn't. So you don't have to necessarily be ill, become unwell before you die. And as a matter of fact, you're actually in a better place if you become unwell before you die, because it's kind of a warning shot to you to say, it's time to put your house in order. What about the fact that if you are not given that opportunity by your maker, by your God? What if you are destined to face a sudden and unexpected death? What have you put in place for your family? And we're looking at different things. We're looking at your social media. People die, they die for many years, and we still see their Facebook page active because people forget that they've died and they still tag them. They have their Twitter accounts. They have their TikTok accounts. They have their Instagram. All these things. Passwords. Does anyone know your password? Who knows your password? Who can access your Facebook account? Who can access? I see someone shaking their head. Juma is shaking their head, and at this note, actually, because he's shaking his head, I'm gonna bring him in because I want to know why he's shaking his head when I've talked about passwords and people having access to your account. Juma, over to you.
Hello. Fambulem, una good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night, depending on whose part you find yourself. Glad you for the part of the health show today. Interesting, and I shake me because, we're doing the health show, they always can get one thing where they can throw inside the engine, the motor car engine, we can want be like a spanner at the works. Say we can talk about health and healthy eating. The one thing they get for throw away in cassava leaf. So that they can bring calm, some kind of thing. So now, on this dying and Uda, you will give access to things that you can't talk about password. So now I just laugh. So I just imagine right now the kind conversation them, the kind long mots them, the kind hints them we go they now inside household that we go to listen right now, or people they go to text themselves say yeah. They say if we die just now, if even you Facebook, could have own rights to them and all that thing and they. So I can ask you for give me your Facebook account, I'm for them. So now the thing is now I can tell you, but you not can understand. So that I'm just trying to imagine that picture. Now I make her smile. Me they decide for talk to we know the hear English better. I said I don't talk to them, they hear English. So right now, Lord bring and come home. Again, thank you, Isata. We're smiling about it, and it's depressing. We don't want to talk about it because we know it's the reality. We all get for die. That's no two way about it. But even the people who believe, either you being Christian, Muslim, or any denomination where you believe in, or any sect or faith we believe in, one thing we all get in common that we're gonna die. What we don't know is the how and the when. So that unknown day, now that we can afraid firstly, and secondly, that unknown day make sure say we always be prepared. I'll talk about like Muslims, for example. One thing we they can advise that every step where you take, you get for make sure say you prepare like now your last step. Even Islam talk about being prepared for the day where you get for die. So let me say this, for many traditional Muslim homes, and me a fuller Muslim, one thing where they always train we for do is like, you always forget any outside you day, you prep, you get the things that way them for take sutra you. Meaning the things that then for take bear you. You get your kasanke, you get the soap, you get the razor blade, all the things that we then get for make sure say them prep you with for die. Just in case you die in a net, or you die at a time where they're not get for able to go buy them thing then they, or then go to a shop, then don't run out of stock. So imagine this now Islam force the way they talk about how you get for prepare. So let's make a mention that now for let people know the extremely important, because if you want to say ethical for talk about death and how you get for prepare from a religious point of view, then possibly you just fool yourself. And Christianity self talk about death in so many ways, and you get for prepare. So the problems there, what's make it important for us discuss this issue, Isata, and we already people really watch. Now that if we don't learn anything during this COVID pandemic, if we don't learn something, we go back, reflect, reassess, and re-strategize we whole life, everything about we. How many people where you talk to last night, this morning, and don't die? They die, and then a situation where the people where you consider as immediate family members, not they around for make decision for them. Sometimes the person will go there closer, now that family member we close with. There are two sometimes 1 or 10, 1 10 and don't talk in the last 10 years. One of the closest person that one day we did it. This person get for make decision on behalf of that person the way don't die. And he get for make decision on behalf of the family where he left way not. So you see how where you get your advance directive, like Isata they say, That advance directive now the paper where they put you wish that moment where you're not able for talk, where God don't sees you much, you're not able for talk, or where you don't die, you're not in the position where they say, look the dead body and down, bring your name self don't change first. You don't turn the body. Not get first name, not get surname. The body. Now you don't turn. They say when I push and I bring and can answer, you not get for lift nothing. So possible get for make decision on your behalf. So if you don't write that one day, it make them easy for you. Of course, you know they feel nothing, but now so you go be now this now be you wish, now this you want for let happen. The day where you die, how you want let them bury you, who side them for bury you, and everything else where you left behind, how you want for let it happen. But we don't do that. We don't see families where for pick color, the color where people for wear for go attend the funeral. It bring enmity between family. So if you don't make that advance directive, say, oh, me, I like pink. Now pink them for use. You know, simple things like that. So you not create what you call it. Everybody at the end of the day, even if they vex by you say, you not diamond. They're not going to go beat you, slap you, but at least you don't left peace say, not to Mr. X be make a decision, not to Mr. Y be make a decision. Now this the policy way getting buried, now this he wants. So they bring them little example here so for low understand. People right now, we get families that we don't divided because they not agree who side for bury this person. Let's take, for example, we're in the diaspora. It is expensive, it's challenging logistically for begin prepare, but then sometimes majority of your family members, they na Sierra Leone or somewhere in Africa, where they don't wish now for let them carry your corpse go back and go bury you. But is that what you wanted? You able to afford them? That's not another thing you get for ask yourself. However, slow we say that that's not be you won't wish, but if you know right time, you don't tell Mr. A and Mr. B, well, some tell you mama and papa, then they Africa, then you then also you with your wife and picking them. You don't see the draw now. You wife and picking, they will let them bury you, usai, then they. You mama, you brother and sister them, then want let them go bury you in your village. Because you village, that they don't bury you mama, they don't bury you papa, they don't bury you brother there, everywhere. So now the family place down now a tradition down there. But you not be don't communicate with your wife and picking them. You not communicate with your mama and picking and brother them. Let we say you talk and verbally. It's your word against my word. You the diamond, not they for decide. Who makes that decision? So you see the enmity where you don't create. And so let's say that wife day a day. Then you get young picking them. You see, you don't put them in a funny position. Before they support themselves as family for come together, you don't create a problem. We're not going to solve this now. It become a bigger problem. You wish you not be don't die. So these are the cultural parts of it and other social parts that we make up a very, very important for make a decision. And it's always good to put it in writing. When it comes to money side, that ain't the biggest issue. How many people where they work, where it gets, like I say next of kin, say, okay, in case of death, who would you want to be contacted? You don't make that decision. Let me say you get life insurance. You be don't put and say, this life insurance, I want 10% to go to my mom, 10% to my brother, the other 80% to my kids and my wife. You don't put them. Then that same day, that uncle, who not be don't talk about to 50 years ago, now at the head of the family, traditionally, I can't see map now. Yes, the car begin cut. Juma, now 5 close he left. Where that box, that suitcase where we don't put where we say let nobody no open. Hey, wife go bring and can the next then can and clear all thing at the house. They left you wife and picking them. Thing not there for it. So you don't put everybody in a compromising situation. So I don't know, possibly, Isata, if this try for begin break things down for with people them, but the emphasis, put them in writing. Make sure say you notarize them. If you know this how they do advanced directives, care and go on side, you can make a will. The will, it not mean say you don't make a mistake, you can change them for as long as you they alive. As you progress, let's say if you don't plan, say they die in the next 20 years, they live for another 40 years, you can go change your will. you know, let's say if you don't make a UF as you, I know they say a man, they no more they die. But I make this example for we because now we can be very secretive. You understand? We can take things for granted. We say because a man they only they die just now. The woman them most times, the woman and they plan in advance because woman and they afraid say what if something go wrong. We believe that it no go happen. No worry, you not like a carpenter them. Now make us say like carpenter no they ever get find bed or chair in a house. They always they procrastinate. So they make one, they sell, I say, well, I get for make other one back. Now, so man then they behave. We they make say, and man they within a position of trust, within a position of influence. We don't see how many people they wait on they left property them. The property they now end up in a court every day for the past 50 years. They're still in a land case, post case. Because before he die, you not put nothing for saying, now, so I want this for happen. So if I reach there, I'll tap first, Isata. We'll continue. I don't say the other two guys get definitely something for say, and we'll continue to advance the conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much, Juma, for putting it together so eloquently for we Sierra Leonean brothers and sisters, Mama and Papa them. So just to separate what Juma just spoke about, we have two things here. You have your advance directive and you have a will. A will is basically what states how you want your estate to be shared or divided. So a will is basically about your properties, about guardianship. That is something you can also include in a will. When I say guardianship for children under the age or who needs parental responsibility, you can put that in your will as well, on top of acquiring a legal guardianship documentation. The reason why this is important is because if and when you die, well, not even if, it's when you die. We all know we live in a culture where we have polygamy. A lot of homes, there's more than one woman. A lot of homes, even if they don't practice polygamy, there's that, you know, street child. There's a daughter out there that someone has had out of wedlock, or they had children before they met their current spouse. Now, with their current spouse, they've worked hard together, they've accumulated wealth. And wealth can be anything from as little as buying a car to buying a property, or to buying a piece of land, or owning a farm, or being in charge of the estate of your own parents. And how do you make sure, how do you ensure when you are no longer alive, all the people that are dear to you, that you would have wanted to have a share or a piece of your estate, how would you ensure they legitimately have it? One of the ways you can ensure is a will. Now, I know some people would say, oh, well, a will is not always tight proof. Yes, we've heard of stories where people alter wills. We've heard of stories where people have edited wills and so on and so forth. But 95% of the time, depending on where you are, where you live, what part of the world, the will makes things easy for everyone. So that is the emphasis on the will. When it comes to advance directive is really, it really takes heed when you no longer have the mental capacity to make decisions. By that, I mean you cannot retain information and make decisions based on that information you've been given, and you've retained it, and you've reflected, you've deliberated on it, and you've made an informed decision when you're no longer able. And that can happen when you've had, for example, a road traffic accident and you've become unconscious. Were you somebody who wanted to be resuscitated? if you had a cardiac arrest? Did you want to be resuscitated? Now, one of the things that is coming into play in the UK is organ donation, wherein soon rather than later, everybody is going to be considered an organ donor, except you opt out. So at this point, it is pretty much you opt in to become an organ donor. But soon, legislation is going, there's a bill going on, going on about it to decide and make that decision that everybody nationally automatically becomes an organ donor as long as you find yourself in a situation where one or many of your organs are viable, as in can be used for somebody else, then those organs or that organ will be taken off you. If you don't want that, then you are going to have to opt out of it. So these are the things when we say put your house in order, you have to start thinking about. Because especially us Africans, what we don't do is we don't put things into action, we don't implement, we don't think about things, but then we're easy to conclude and make assumptions. I say to people, when people say, I said, it's good to be an organ donor, people say to me, do ya? What that mean? I see I come, that's why they go back. And then I turn around to them and say to them, but what if you were in an accident and you lost a kidney and you needed a kidney? Would you not want that kidney? Because that would be somebody else's kidney. And then all of a sudden their tongues are tied. Well, you know. It's the simple thing also as donating blood, which is one of the most common things you do, and you're still alive and kicking and you go about your business and you just donate blood so that somebody else who needs it will have it. And we all know there's certain major surgeries you go for in this part of the world. You need blood transfusion, or any part of the world, you need blood transfusion. So what if you are in that position? So these are the things we need to think about, because I think we're leaving the decisions for our loved ones to make, and it's putting an enormous pressure on them. It's causing rift, it's causing stress, it's causing breakdown of family dynamics, and sometimes it even leads to some kind of spiritual and traditional and mythical wars for many, 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 many years. Back in Sierra Leone, we up till now, you go to some places, people will point houses to you and say, you see that house? It's a haunted house. Mm. And you say, why is it haunted? They said, oh, well, because the person who lived there, when they died, people were fighting for his property or her property. And because of that, the rightful owners were kicked out. So since then, the dead is unhappy. So nobody is allowed to stay in that house. Or they say to you, oh, that house, anybody that lives there dies within a certain period. So nobody wants to live in that house. Nobody sells the house. Nobody does anything to the house. So these are the reasons why we need to put things into order. So that is to do with your will or advance directive. Advance directive is really to say, if this happens to me, I don't want this. If I can't eat and drink for myself, I don't want to be artificially fed. If my heart stops, I don't want to be resuscitated. If I am in a car accident and my leg is broken so much that it needs to be amputated, I don't want to be amputated. I want to be left like that and be cared for like that as best as possible. That is what an advance directive is.
And I think I just add there as well the issue of post-mortem, because that's very key as well. And you know how religion and cultural beliefs plays part in that. So it's easy to blame, to say, oh, now the woman, now I'm being done poison the man, I make way see not even one for let them do post-mortem. But don't know whether that was the discussion they had. So all of those things. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, post-mortem is not something you can make, you have a choice over. Post-mortem in the UK is not something of a choice. In the UK, as long as you have a sudden and unexpected death, you're referred to the coroner straight away. That's automatic. Yeah? Also, if you become unwell and you go into an acute hospital, as in a hospital, but you're not in that hospital, you die within 24 hours, automatically you're referred to a coroner. Now, where there's a thin line, where I see you thinking that, is if that person, let's say that was somebody who had a life-limiting illness. Let's say somebody who had dementia, yeah? And then they were slowly progressing and they were not expected to die, but then suddenly died. Now, the coroner then makes that decision. I think you guys call it over North America, the medical examiner. Mm-hmm. The coroner makes that decision based on medical records to decide whether they pursue and move on to a postmortem or not. So the coroner always gets involved to rule out suspicious death. So I think this is where people need to understand that some decisions, a spouse is powerless, a relative is powerless, a next of kin is powerless. It's got to do with the law. I don't know if you want to add something there, Juma, because this is something I deal with a lot.
Yeah, the thing where definitely, I wanted to discuss when it comes to the postmortem part of it, because we've seen situations wherein families, being consulted, whether especially for Muslims, because I know with the medical field as well, they take into consideration people's religious beliefs, and they are very aware that, the Muslim faith mostly do not want postmortem, to happen. So sometimes they do consult in situations like that.
Yes.
So I don't know the detailed technical part of it, but I know definitely if it's a suspicious death that has to do with the, law wherein the state has a concern, then definitely families are powerless, but on some occasions wherein, they would have to consult with the family on religious grounds. They do consult families. And again, that's, like you say, that thin line. So you have to cover all your bases. That's my point. Make sure, say, you take care of everything. Say, if I die, say, me and I let them do postmortem. You don't write them there, except where the law, because outside the law, then you don't get control over that themselves. But also you get control if there, if there's a situation where a decision has to be made, make sure you write it there. It's best to be safe than sorry. Write it there. If you need it, then at least you're covered, because you're not going to be in the position to make that decision. But if you leave it out and then that decision is, they need to make that decision based on what you would have wanted, then you're not there. So there's a rift between your immediate family and the extended family. So that was just the point I wanted to add when it comes to that. But I'm happy, the way you separated the advance directive, which has to do with the person's wishes, and then with the execution of will, where you property or any assets where you left, at least then go. If now one suitcase self you get, you close them, because some people keep decide the woman go on for go donate and to charity. But you wanted your brothers to have that. And even, let's go back to tradition. You see, let we left for the play there here. We see how many people were 30 days. You have people where that person in brother die. One pan the brother they come now for can't inherit the wealth them or the wealth and they picking the all. Say they can't see them. See why they laugh. But it's true. It is. He go come out of the village, he can't sit down at the house. After the burying, no one for go again, they cook every day. So remember my brother be the work now say gem media, Femi be the work now say gem media, then brother don't sit down and say Femi this again.
And Juma, I just know Allah will say that people that don't know they come on a village to do this.
Because example I make.
Go ahead. Because even people within cities, within inner cities and rural areas also do this. They also, their sibling dies, their brother dies, and then all of a sudden they've decided, Arika now, because most likely that brother that died was financially better off than them. They had a house and everything. And now all of a sudden they want to move in and inherit everything. The wife, the children, on top of their own wives as well that they have, and so on and so forth. And maybe you as the deceased, you the brother who died, you didn't want that.
Yeah.
You didn't want to share your wife with your brother. But did you make plans?
Right.
Did you make that clear?
Right.
You know, because I think the reason why we're talking about these things is not so much for our people back home. It's for us in the diaspora, because the reason why we are torn between the Western influence and our traditional and cultural values. We are extremely torn between that.
Right.
And I see this from time and time again. Every time I attend a funeral, there's always one thing I'll pick out that creates some form of conflict because of an overlap of Western culture, the Western culture we've acquired for the number of years we've lived here, compared to against our traditions and cultures that we were born within and raised with. And then, of course, the external influences, like Juma said earlier on. It might be that I come from a culture or tradition. We have a tradition in our family that we have a family plot back in Kenema, where I come from. Like where I come from, my family, we were privileged. Our dad was buried in his compound, you know, and his sister is buried next to him. Now, what if I die in the UK and my brothers decide, oh, well, because dad is here and auntie's here, it would be best for Isita also to come here because this is home. What about my children? How often are my children going to go to Sierra Leone to visit my grave? Now, a number of times back in Africa, when somebody is buried, most times people turn their back, that's it. But here in the Western world, people visit the cemetery a lot. And if you've been to a cemetery in the Western world, it is well looked after. You can sit there for hours and hours. It's one of the most quiet and peaceful places you can sit to have some form of
reflection.
So then some form of reflection, some form of meditation. So my children might need to have that. They would want that. But if I don't put that in place, you know, that opportunity might be taken off them and off their hands.
Right.
I don't know what you want to say towards that, Juma.
I think it's time to bring Tibo and Femi into this conversation. But you are so right. And also another thing I want our people to think about, or let remember, again, intermarriages between different culture. Because when we say Africa, now we are lumping it all into one. It's not one country. Our experience and way of life in Sierra Leone may differ, with way of life and experiences culturally in Nigeria. There are similarities. So we have to take that into consideration. Imagine you go married to somebody where now a non-Sierra Leonean, you woman or man, that person they gets a decision for make, then your family gets a decision for make, then it becomes messy if things are not on paper for guide the conversation. Definitely, you'll not be able to exhaust everything, but the most important things has to be down on paper. At least it's a starter. Let people not begin scratch their head, say, Then again, the thing about even money, let's say people owe you money. They want for pay back that money. Who do they pay that money to? Because like Muslim, we they announce, say, well, if this person be owe anybody, let them contact XYZ person. You can't just say the family. There has to be one person in the family that stands there as, the guarantor or whatever, okay? When are you executor or whatever you want to call that, at least that person they. if then people get for pay you back, that one post where they bring that money come to. All of those things now encompass with who they talk about between the advance directive, where now you wish on things that way you're able for talk, you become incapacitated, or where you don't die completely, and then you will about things the way you left and all of those things. Over to you, T-Boy.
Now we get to champion then. He has some minutes over to you. But welcome everyone, welcome once more. And again, this is a very interesting conversation. I like this outside Idigo. And I just want to touch on two things before I forget. Now make I raise me and say, I want to talk, because I don't want to make it escape me. One of which now, I have to make reference, say, if you die, for example, we make reference to yourself, they go push out far like 50 years down the line, because we get boku team for doing you first while you're alive. So basically, if you die, for example, in London, and then you begin and then also, when also you don't born and also you don't go up, you want for me, then definitely bury you there. But what's at the other advantage for me, then bury you back in a salon, because it also make reference, say, yes, you get for go, you begin and go for campaign you, which is closer to home, which is in London, because in London you die. But what's also go encourage you begin and for go back home, because sometimes when you're dead, you begin where you born at the diaspora, not get nothing to do with your country of origin anymore. Some of them go able to forget something for do with their origin of their parents, which is in Africa or somewhere else. So then go for go back and pay homage. But the only thing where they carry them go back home of their parental background, now because either their parents still they alive back home, outside them come out originally, or sometimes their parents and non died and they pay visits to that particular grave day every year as a family. So if you watch like back in the early, I would say 20, 30 years back, even up to currently, you get people that really come up from the diaspora, really go make Sarah for their loved ones, for them papa, them, for them granny, them, for them grandpa, them. Now, because there is a connection, we then still able to go back home for every year and say, we'll go put Sarah for papa every year. That connection is also vital as well. So some decision in the way also you get for make, you get for look at that technical issue, the way slightly will be controversial, it will be financially expensive, and then it will able for it will take a lot of it will put a lot of hassle on the family. But look, we also try for consider some of the issues then because like I should say, they have now a reason to go back home every year if they choose to do so. They now have a reason to go back home as a family collectively for go pay homage to them, papa, because guess what? Their dad was buried within their own home. Equally so, like we say for your side of South Comoros, we get to your own family grave then right inside we compound. We great grandpa and papa then all them buried inside that particular compound where they represent we as a family. So at some point, if there's any notable person within the family will die out of Sierra Leone, in Sierra Leone, but not in the village specifically, then they always make sure so they carry you body go there. Like my own papa died during the war, then bang on a freetown. When the war ceased, they make it for exhuming body, can go back to the village for go back and that is closure for them. So we get for also look into those two areas. And then Isata also make mention of the fact, say, traditionally, no, Juma, I mentioned that. Traditionally, if you as the eldest of a family die, then your younger ones can come, one for can take over, for can marry you, the woman, especially when something that poor that in be the breadwinner and will not say he gets a good job and he earn well. Conditions then they will limit you for do that. If not the big brother die, then yes, the smaller brother can say, okay, only if the woman accepts, say, well, okay, because of your brother be don't die before he die, if he don't say to you, well, right now I sick, I know well, the condition not too good, I'm not sure say I survive. But I go on for left you in the hands of my brother. I know for say go look after you well. But the other reason for them traditional stuff, then they also not for keep the family units together. So they know they break the bond of the picking and growing up to different household. So there are so many reasons for those decisions. So again, if they make them decision and they as a family, as a person, you have to think about it carefully and look at the advantages and disadvantages and make sure the advantages then outweigh the disadvantages for making that decision. But it has to be a collective decision between yourself and your partner. So traditionally, some culture you do that. Yes, I totally agree. And you also get the one they really can't take advantage. They will look at me, what I die, no left will, so they can't take over in business, so they can't take over in lifestyle. Again, challenges then they way you face in terms of doing that. But also, sometimes you don't really want to go through the length at which you get for begin PPI, you say for the theory they die or the theory they die. But it is very important that certain things in the way you might not be in the position to write, but discuss with certain family members then where they're very close to you, or we know for say these are the values of some of the things then where you get alongside your life living. So you get for be very mindful of what you talk. Careless joke. One of which can be, I will be father made and me. Failing to realize that message you don't go inside somebody is when a very close person to you, we're going to make decision even when you're not alive.
So, but T-Boy,
yeah,
that's where it is important to put it in writing.
Yes.
Because when you talk, I'm here, say, let me tell you, you talk things to people, whether carelessly or seriously, that person may add what they want to add. But if it is in writing, it is notarized. Anybody will forge them. I know they say no, they happen. But when you notarize something, you forge them, that becomes criminal. You understand me? If they get for catch the person eventually, but that is on safeguard. Say, this not to just, it not been just tell me no more. Not to me make them up. What if you were it tell? Now you are the least person where the family respect. Well, you say you don't get money, but now you believe, now you respect for talk to. But then the one the way they make decision, the one they are the decision makers them, then they wouldn't are you wait you they talk. But when you put them in writing, they will not say, now wait it tell T-Boy. You go say, now this is the right too. And it was not realized.
But we don't also see again when people in the write something, somebody back again at the family they can't overrule. You say, well, okay, now this not being reached, but guess what? This is what we're doing.
Yeah, but then that's what you call bullying. At least legally you have something to stand on. You cannot change. Yeah, go ahead, Isata.
Exactly. I just wanted to buttress what you were saying, Juma. We know people put things in writing and you have people who come and override that. And that only happens in an environment or a community where they don't recognize the value or the importance of legal documentation, where bullying going on, where there's overpowering going on, and so on and so forth. But T-Boy, like you say, you were talking about the advantages of people being taken back home so that to encourage their children to go back home. Now, if you've been a parent who has never in your lifetime taken the time to take your children back home, do you think it's fair for them now that you're dead, they should be going to visit your grave just because you want them to go back home? So these are some of the things we have to think about. If you're someone that feels so connected with your country of origin, then make sure you translate that to your children by action. Take them home. It is expensive. We know it's expensive, but take them home. Let them understand that this is home, you know, especially if you have the opportunity and the means. Now, we know sometimes some people don't, especially where there's breakdown in relationships, single parenting, or no access to children, and so on and so forth. However, wherever you have to sow the seeds, as they say. But for me, it is very important we look at those things. And I know you've talked about that. You know, you've said there's advantages and disadvantages, but I just wanted to touch on that as that's something that could be an advantage. But for it to become an advantage, you as a person, whilst you were alive, you should have sown the seeds. So if you want your children to stay connected to your country of origin, and one of the ways you want to do that is to ensure that when you die, you're buried back home so that they have no choice, or it makes them want to come and visit you. That way, at least once or a year or biannually or whatever, they would visit your country of origin. You have to have given them that reassurance that this is a place where they would want to go. And one of the best ways to, or easiest way to do that, is ensure that they also go there when you're still alive. So I think it's very, very important for us to think about that. We've got quite a lot of comments, just positive comments on the chat room saying, few people have said actually they have made their plans. People saying 8 years ago, they put their house in order. Somebody was asking, can you make a will in the UK to be valid on your property in Sierra Leone, or you have to make your will in Sierra Leone? And I know the answer to that. This is Doma Tomsi. You have to make separate wills. But what you do is you interconnect the wills. So in your UK will, you would mention your Sierra Leone will. In your Sierra Leone will, you would mention your UK will. So that way, and you make sure, if you can, you appoint the same executors, because then that makes it easier. Because within a will, you appoint executors who would execute your wish, your will and wishes. So if you do that, it makes it easier. But because it's different laws and different countries, you have to make a will wherever you have you've accumulated wealth, or whether it's liquid wealth or estate wealth, or so on and so forth. So that's one of the questions. And then Dr. Ahmed says, such an important conversation. Thank you for bringing it to the front of mind. Indeed, I think we're all scared of talking about dying, but every day we take a risk. We take a risk that might lead to death. Just leaving your house in the morning, you're already taking a risk. Waking up, going to the bathroom to have a shower, you jump into the bath, you're already taking a risk, because you might easily slip in the bath, bang your head, and die. You know, you jump in your car, you turn on the ignition, you drive, you've taken a risk, because you might be the most careful driver, but somebody might come and hit you, and you might die. We travel a lot. You hear people looking forward to going to Sierra Leone in December, in Easter, in what, you know, the moment you jump on that plane, you're taking a risk. And Dr. Ahmed says here, most of us are fearful of discussing death, the only certainty in life, but so important.
Apologies for the break.
The Atlantic in wet. Likewise, can't go to heaven if fearful of dying. So over to you, Juma. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, Isata, thank you so much. And, you know, I just want for that clarify again, say, will they talk about the advanced directive, and they will let people not confuse the two. I just, you know, for further clarification that these are two separate things. The advanced directive, they talk about you, where possibly where you seek, you become incapacitated, what you would want to happen, just like how I started to say. And it's a detailed document, but you can discuss that with your GP, you can discuss that with any, you know, medical person, and then you can get you legal person for sign out for you on authorized way it go this on sideway safe. That if you seek, you know, you don't reach on sideways on the one for pull the plug, you know, you don't decide say, well, then for pull the plug by me, or no, then for still left me there until I feel better, those kind of situations, you know, or like how I have been saying about being an organ donor, all of those things come into play on your advanced directive. So that one is specifically different. It gets for do with you, where you're able for talk, you're able for do nothing mentally, you're able for make a decision for yourself, you know, from a medical perspective. But then if you go to your GP or your family practice, then able for advise you better on how for do you advanced directive. The will is about, you know, legally where you for left, whether you left in, you know, in place, your property, your assets, and all them things. In the end, we make examples of, you know, the cultural and social side. Why we make the example now? For let we understand the extent why it is important to plan. You not get for able for make a decision, say somebody get for inherit your wife. You can't make that decision if the wife no one for be inherited because she's alive, okay? You not own her, not married, you married her, for example. And this is very important. I want to not use this platform. We share our opinion there, but we get for make a disclaimer and certain things we need to clarify. That not go say they don't go talk another program say, you know, you get for make a will. Now you let me brother married you. No. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying example. you get for make sure, say, if you don't put them, say you, the characters say, I know I let nobody, brother or other person share me wife where maybe don't married. Or me picking them, I know one for long I can't ship them, say they get for go to that auntie for go there. Put them in writing after you don't agree with your partner. It come again to una picking them as well. You know, sometimes they una not married. This is not just for married couple. If una don't be, una don't cohabit, una don't be boyfriend, girlfriend, una don't get picking them and all that, you have to discuss a lot of things, what you would want to happen. And you, the man, you get for make sure, say, you put things in writing and left them just in case. Because we don't see situations where things like that don't happen, you know, where somebody don't work naya very hard. This lady, getting picking, don't bring her up as a single mother. Then 9-1 green day, he died. He left in 2 picking them. Waiting there for happen. The daddy not been there. All of a sudden, daddy show up. Then you get the family, now then they not tongue mostly. They even get one family member now. So now they therefore begin they argue. The daddy able for take all to the picking and one for day together. They've never been separated, but the daddy say now one able for take. What happened? So the social services then therefore come in, you know, be don't left, child custody, without them for left out with where the picking then go be safe and all that today. Because the daddy they not the biological father, but possibly not be dead. This other person now be don't the help for take care. So you see, things like all of those things need to be discussed in details. Isita, when it comes to that will business where they talk, you know, you make example, but, you know, sleep in a bathtub and all that. I had a case closer to me. It wasn't here, but this is a real case. This is 25, 30 years ago. A family member to me, big businessman, he come out, doing business, he come, now he sleep. Banana Kanda is sleep. In foot broke. Go Krango Hospital to Dr. Cole. He did it for weeks, months. He died. Okay? But he left so much wealth. In wealth day, in wealth born, the day where the man died, now that day him picking 1 month old. It's a young wealth. Then now the man in your family now come out calm. The brother them, the man in papa then come. This man left what save money. He left money where unimaginable. Then people like can take everything and go with her and left the lady dry. So if not to be a situation wherein you had strong family members will be able for team up for safeguard. Now so if I be left that woman and the picking them perish, then family, then they take all that in they go. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, so it is important. I just wanted to re-emphasize that. Femi, over to you. We know you have a lot to say as well for share with me.
Yeah. I mean, whilst Femi is unmuting, I just wanted to also, as you just mentioned, Juma, I just wanted to raise a disclaimer as well that we are in no way legal professionals. And what we're saying here is just to put things at the front of your mind so you start thinking about it and then you can seek the right advice. So for these kind of things, a lot of time you need several people at play. You need insurance brokers, you need funeral directors, you need a lawyer who specializes in family law and so on and so forth, and wills and so on. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer that we're having conversations here. We are not the professionals. However, we by experience, through work and skills and stuff, we see fit to have these discussions so that you can now take it forward and go and seek advice and put things in place. Over to you, Femi.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Sure.
Great. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And Anamidi can welcome them. After the show don't go halfway, they're almost done. Anyway, it's all good. Today we have a serious topic. I've sat here, I've listened to what everybody has to say. I can't really comment on everything that they've said because we'll be here till tomorrow. but a couple of things where we want just talk about this married Tiasuwe, Juma, Tibo, and I certainly don't talk about in the Muslim religion where they say if you, or not the Muslim really, now I think there are some tribes them where if you die, you husband and brother can come marry you. I thought that it wasn't married per se. I've been feel to say that only way they come in, you can marry the woman and for just can't take care of. I'm not so the full marriage way sometimes will involve sexual activities. So now so somebody been telling me, so I'll be gonna correct me if I'm wrong. I've been feeling that for just can't take care of the woman.
So if you begin intention for let her inherit, change your mind one time because it's the whole 9 years, my brother.
Okay.
You know.
Thank you.
I think it depends. It depends. Sometimes it's just like Juma said, just to keep the family together, and depending on the age of the woman and so on and so forth, and the where they got inherit.
Don't sugarcoat it. Then enough for you.
The whole 9 yards.
It's the whole 9 yards. Don't, Femi. So change your mind if you they think about that.
No, not only all 9 years, because again, it can be possibly say the culture then different. But like in real culture, if the woman unborn picking done, then she's not allowed to have any child within that marriage. But if the woman young and then she's still sexually active, it is going to, like agreements between the woman, the man, and the family. But ideally, now for keep the family units together. Then the primary goal of it all.
T-boy, I agree with you. You know the smoke screen where you get? You're waiting, T-boy say, if the woman don't born done.
Yes.
You not allow for born.
Yeah.
Does not mean you're not allowed to do the other activities.
No, you can be sexually active, yes. But
so that's what I'm talking about. So it's the whole 9 yards. So for born, who decides? Who that they decide when the woman don't born done? Who knows? The capacity don't hold it, is 70, 80. That's it. But it's the whole 9 yards. Then go put a small screen say, oh, now for the picking them, this, that. But then the advantage when they take pan the woman now, sometimes when you say they get now with the man, they agree. The man not get a decision pan that. Now people then they make decision where your man don't die now, the picking them, they then picking now picking them. You get for sit down for we now, for take care of the picking them. So and woman not for day by himself. They not go respect them. So if for they under the auspices of this man here, so this man in brother or in cousin, the older brother or this or that. Yeah, it's all messy. So you the man, Femi, if you know how they let her inherit Madam Palmer, that's for right I want.
That T-boy not inherit her, eh?
Yeah, not inherit. Because T-boy don't make it well with the corner close right now. Okay.
Well, me, I was saying in a corner, but at the same time, tribes gets different way how they look at them. The Madingos, the Fulas, the Sosos, the Creoles, the Konos, the Mendes, the Timinis, they look at them differently. But not so like a taboo per se. Every culture in Sierra Leone don't adapt this at some point.
True, yeah.
The fact of the matter is, to me, it should not be compulsory to the woman. It's her choice.
Right.
Decide whether she wants to do it or not. But like we say, is to keep the family units together. And the reason we make is so common now, some culture, the way you take them very seriously. Now, when it involves a lot of wealth, a lot of traditional beliefs where they feel to say, if this woman go married elsewhere, then you make a fool of them. When you go say you want the big sister not agree, or you and the big sister part, they want still for keep them into the family, you can marry the small one.
Now, so who's tradition, Andy?
Fula.
No, that's not so full.
No,
I'm challenging you. That's not full tradition. That's wrong.
T-boy,
whoever tells you that.
What you're talking about agreement is whether the woman agrees. Now, where in a situation where the family feels say this is what's right, but then the woman not agree. Sometimes what happens is they oust the woman out and
Yes.
take children away from the woman. You know, they and one, you know, just like what in Jumami they say earlier on, if like that situation where he explained, if there were no strong family members around, they would have left that woman with no support, financial support, because nobody not be really want them. All they were interested in is the wealth. You know, they weren't really interested in this them brother or their uncle or them pikin where don't die. All they were interested in is their own selfish reasons, which was to acquire the wealth. So these are the things that we have to be careful of. You are saying the woman has to be in agreement, but we know many, many, many times the woman is not in agreement. Then because of that, because the family have more power, they then separate the mother from the children. They say to the mother, the wife, well, when be the car, you know the couch picking them. We go keep with picking them, you go. You know, and that woman is victimized. So it is very, very important. And the reason why we're talking about all this legal stuff is where sometimes where you have a family unit where everybody, they have a very healthy relationship, they're loving, they're caring to one another, which we've all witnessed. A death will happen within that family and there'll be no chaos. They'll come together, they'll make the best decisions with the best interest at heart for that person that dies. So for example, we're talking about color. One person will say, the wife will say, oh, my husband likes to wear blue. And then the sister will say, no, he didn't like to wear blue, he liked to wear white. But where there is love, where there is togetherness, most times it's either the wife or the sister will say, well, you know what, how about blue and white? Or they would say that there'll be some form of compromise. But where there's already tension, where there's already family dynamics that is very negative and toxic, when a death occurs without nothing in place, it creates a lot of chaos. It creates a lot of chaos. And this is what we're talking about today. We're not really talking about the do's and the don'ts of the traditions and what these tribes do and what they don't do. We're talking about where, when it goes wrong, it goes wrong. And because sometimes you don't know whether it's going to go wrong or not, it's better to put the right things in place so that, like we said earlier on, you safeguard everyone. And sometimes that might mean safeguarding your family from your wife, safeguarding your children from your wife, safeguarding your husband from your family. Because it's not always the wife, the woman that is a victim. Sometimes it's the husband. And sometimes it's the family. Because like I was saying earlier on, where you've got a family where, let's say, the spouse, the man or the husband or the wife is the sole breadwinner of his mother, father, siblings, and then he dies, and then he leaves behind a good amount of wealth, which reasonably, if a woman who has a conscience can say, okay, I will either carry this responsibility or actually here's a chunk, move on, make sure you do stuff for yourself. Sometimes that doesn't happen. The wife walks away with everything, you know. So,
yes, we interrupt Femi, we apologize.
I just want to say, now Femi na into in Bongaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't have, I can put it for argument. So don't
go ahead.
Answer a question. Go ahead, Femi, over to you.
Yes, indeed, T-boy. I can open a can of worms. No, it's good to know how, you know, the different tribes differ in Denka and Tiaso. For we the Creole them, I don't think that they significant enough. Your brother no go Chris can say you can get me with after I don't go. You know, possible. But anyway, if we left Dande first, there's a few other serious things they wanna talk about. You guys mentioned about property. You know, you mentioned the family dynamics. When you not leave a will or we not talk, we think if what happen to you, think then we don't pass. So I have actually experienced some of Dandy. There's this lady we nabi with neighbor, and she was on our road from when maybe my mom was a child. So basically, after my mom gave birth to me, she went back into teaching. This neighbor looked after me. She was my nanny, if I can put it that way. And she lived across the road. And in her old age, all her children, her family members, everybody deserted her. She had nobody, absolutely nobody. It safe, this woman not been get for it. So me auntie, we tap now with family house across the road from this woman, used to feed this woman on a daily basis. You know, we helped, our family helped look after her in her old age. All thing, say we dey pay class pence for this woman also. Because in we church them, if you not pay class pence, when you die, the church not go church in you.
Explain what's in a class pence, please.
Yes, so class
Your
pence,
tithes, your tithes,
yeah.
isn't it?
So we pay it. It's a yearly fee. What they pay to the church now. Membership is like a membership thing. So when you die, you have to pay that. If you don't pay them in advance, when you leave, when you don't die, somebody get for campaign for you before the church go able for church in you. So we paid all of this for the lady. When we fed her throughout her old age, we looked after her, we bought her medicines and everything. And when she finally passed, I remember the day my aunt called me, say, "Hey Femi, mommy so and so don't go." It was a sad day, but again, we tell God thank you because she had lived a long life. But all of a sudden, family members came out of the woodwork. All the one they went up in the look this mommy where they are alive. They all come and can take over the mommy property them. The house where she lives, T-boys know the house, literally the opposite of the family house. Them go the house can down, they don't build the story house there now, and these people, they're family, so we can't blame them for coming for can't take what is rightfully theirs. But I believe say if this woman being they in the right state of mind, and if you can get the right education, possibly even for the right to will, and most probably the people that will inherit in property not be forget that property day, because they did nothing for her while she was alive. Absolutely jack. And I know because I go free tongue and she explained a lot to me. In Creole not that's great. But I think say me and to get a language where we don't understand because she looked after me for for several years. And I say, we have to put our affairs in order, because if we don't, somebody who you might not want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, nango can enjoy them. They talk about husband and wife. You husband or your wife die, that partner day, husband or wife, get the ability for go marry somebody else. That person is something that they can enjoy the fruits of your labor. You might not like the idea of the person where they go married. So if you not put things in place, I'm sorry. Legally in Sierra Leone, I find out say if you die and you not make a will, you spouse, they get a third of your property, and you picking them, they get 2/3 of your property. If you die and you not make will, and your wife gets or your husband gets a third of your property, if that husband or wife they go married back, that person where he go married, if in survive your partner or your wife, in gets part of your property, a big chunk, where some say na be your mate where even they are alive. So the money is supposed to go to you picking them might end up go to your mates. If we're not careful and we actually put things in place, na then it has to go end up be. It's funny, but it's reality. And today somebody sent me a message after we posted the advert. It say if you're in your 70s, it's a must. If you're in your 60s, you have to do it. if you day in your 40s and 30s, let me correct us. If you day in your 40s and 30s under COVID, it's a must because we don't know waiting tomorrow gets for bring. You know, the last 6 months, 8 months, we don't go boku burying them na this side of the world. You know, in England, America, we've had, you know, Sierra Leone God don't spare we. You know, we've had a few, but in England, America, you know, it's hit these countries then really, really bad. So if you think about all the young people we don't die, as we can see, not to you them. So they didn't realize that their time was up. God knows when your time is up. None of we don't know. We all know so we'll die, but we don't know how and we don't know when. So it's imperative to say we try and try and try for put things in place.
Thank you so much, Femi. And there's no such thing as untimely death. If you're someone of religious faith, there is no such thing as untimely death. When you die is when you were destined to die. There's no such thing as untimely death. But what we need to do is prepare for that death that we don't know when it is going to knock on our door. And that is what we're talking about today. So we've talked a lot about advance directive. We've talked a lot about the will, properties, and so on. But let's talk about single parenting, the implications of single parenting when you don't put anything in place. What would happen to your children that are still under parental responsibility, wherein we all know in our communities that sometimes the father is estranged from the children, or the mother is estranged from the children, or the children are estranged from the father. What happens for one reason or another? I don't want to go into it. Sometimes it's genuine reasons, sometimes it's not. But what happens if you, who have parental responsibility of those children, if you've not put anything in place and then you die? What happens to those children? And that is what we look at and we say, what if? What if? What if you die? What would happen? What if you die? Where would your children live? What if you die? Would your children have to move? Juma just gave us an example where the children were there was a contemplation to separate the children. They've never been separated in their lives. What if? What if you have children and they've never been separated in their lives, and your death, because of not putting things in place, putting your affairs in order, they are going to be separated? What if the least person you wanted to take over and care for your children would end up be the one who has the capability of looking after your children? Have you thought about whether your children will have to move home, would have to move school, or would even have to move country because you haven't put things in place? Have you thought about whether they will become homeless because you haven't put things in place? Have you thought about your funeral? Have you thought about how your funeral will be paid for? We all know things are very hard. We all know things are very challenging financially, inflation, loss of job, especially now in this current COVID pandemic situation. But there's so much more we can do to make sure we put money aside, or there's something aside. A lot of people on the chat room have mentioned funeral plans. Now, most of us don't believe in that, but I think it's very important. And it's done in both religion, the two most common religion in our community, Christianity and Islam. You have funeral plans. You can put together funeral plans, you know, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're dying today. I've looked after patients who bought their funeral plan 50, 60 years ago, and they died 60 years later. Or they bought it 30 years ago, they died 30 years later. Because some of these things, the younger you are, the cheaper it is. the older you become, the more expensive it is. Because like Femi said, if you're in your 70s, you should have a will, and so on and so forth. So those are the kind of things we need to think about. And this is not just for women. It's for both sexes, male and female. Because sometimes some male are single parents. What happens? What happens? You know, I just want, Juma, I just want you to touch on that, because then I want to move on to other things like your employer, who is noted as your beneficiary. Because what most people don't know is that depending on where you work, some places have a benefit they call death in service. If you're actively working and you die, there's a lump sum they pay to your next of kin or beneficiary. And that's different from your private pension. You know, because your private pension, which is with your employer, is totally different. Your state pension, when you die, that's it. If you've reached pension age when you die, then you were married, then, and your spouse is also a pensioner, then they give them what they call widow or widower's pension. But if you haven't reached that point, you're still entitled to your private pension and death in service, depending on where you work. So have you thought about these things? Have you even checked with your employer if there's such thing called death in service with your employer? Have you nominated a beneficiary? Because not your next of kin, but your beneficiary, not your next of kin. So these are some of the things we need to think about. We need to seek legal advice so that we make sure we put the right things in place. Your next of kin is different from your beneficiary. That's another one. Over to you, Juma.
Thank you so much, Aisata. So let's start with the single parenting, and why it's important to at least make some plans, in the event you will not be in a position to speak out or make a decision mentally or, otherwise. You see, like Aisata states, just like with the example we'll make about the married, we are not saying that we need to go into the technicalities of the reasons behind that, but we talk about the consequences if you not make plans as a single parent, okay? Waiting there for happen to them picking, because the picking still possibly they at an age where they need a legal guardianship. They're not able to make decisions for themselves. They, under child protection laws, they make decisions that are in the best interest of the kids. For we within America, if there's a situation wherein you not clarify better, and then look at and say they not get that energy for go begin to look at all the family dynamics and all of those things, they take your kids and send them to a foster home. What happens to them? We see a lot of them end up in foster homes, then they pick up other things them, because they not get the care and support with them, they don't use forget, then become kids away something bad, then jump into other things, then become possibly wayward, end up in a prison here and there, then fall through the cracks, I should say, just because you failed to make a decision where you've been there alive, where that decision they for guide, at least for simplify things. Or the courts sometimes go on for decide certain things, say, well, in the best interest of the picking them, this not the biological, this not the one they be the, so then for them also few them, then for they. So the moment when they begin they move homes here and there, it becomes other problem. So that is why it is important. You will get the picking them, you make a decision, we will make sure say that decision they in the best interest of the picking them, if you know they're in a position for talk or make a statement. Those are things you have to think through properly, because you're not going to allow their emotions cloud you. You get for use waiting there in the interest of the picking them. When the picking them of age, when they reach a decision time where they will make a decision for themselves, that's a whole different ball game. But for that term where they need somebody in care, you, whether you are the mama or the papa, you're able to make a decision for no say, okay, if something happened to me right now, I feel that my kids will be safe with XYZ person. They will be well looked after and all of those things. So that's what I want to add to that. Then we'll talk about the, you all make comments again on the beneficiary thing, or you want to, after you touch on that?
No, I think that was just a food for thought. Right. Those are things people need to look into a bit more, because not every employer or organization provides that. And also it depends on how long you've been in service. And also death in service is when you die when you're still actively working. For example, a lot of people who died during this COVID time, they were still in employment. And if their organizations had death in service, then they would be entitled to it. However, they have to have had a beneficiary appointed, you know, because otherwise it creates a lot of problem and so on and so forth. So I think it's just important that we touch on these things so that people understand that there's so much you can look into. There's so much that is available. There's so much that is necessary for you to look into so that you put things in order.
Right. So when you're taking up an employment, these are the things that you discuss with your human resource with. And for the United States, most jobs, if you're full-time, most jobs do have, some benefits that comes with it, apart from your 401k, wherein other benefits in case you have accidents and things like that. There are certain amounts which comes with the job automatically, and there are certain amounts which you contribute to just in case, where in case you get accident, you get for the long-term being hospitalized, you not get that money, or your family not get the money, your insurance run out, you know how that will happen. In case you get accidental death, things like that as well, all of those things, are taken care of. Now, make I say, who will be your beneficiaries? And these are things you can change. If you don't decide, say right now, now you wife or you man, now you beneficiary, then for some reason I decide say, this relationship it don't sour. This if I die just now, then it come now can't take care of everything. Me picking then go suffer and all that thing, then they all have one for let use the money. If you begin get that kind of doubt, then you can go in and change it. Not to think way static. You can change your beneficiaries as you go along. So these are all things you can look into, and it differs workplace to workplace, country to country as well. But there are so many things that you can do to put things in place. You put safeguards in place that will help ease the trauma, the pain for your family that you'll be leaving behind, and you're not left more problem. You're not left more problem. Again, I said to talk and we all don't talk now. In any of the religions, it talk about paying forward. Because even when you die, wait to make you the worship, wait to make you then say you afraid God, you they do good. Now for let you get the blessing, we go benefit you to my Bambai. So the land of the unknown, you they go there with the hope, say, already I don't pay forward for prepare me for what I die. Now this go carry me go heaven. That's what you're doing. So similarly, before you die, like how Dr. Ahmed Kamara say, you're not going to go heaven if you not die. So when you they die, you at least don't prepare, say, for let them bury you now, so you want for do. So you have to make sure, say, you prepare. So it's all about preparation and doing what is supposed to be done. Don't say you don't have the opportunity. Some of them plans, then they take on a workplace. They even know. $2 here, $5 here, £2 here, £5 there. But, it will be useful when you need it most. I sit over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Juma, for that. And I think it's very important also that we highlight that. Like I said, this is a very broad topic. And when it's the National Dying Matters Week, I'm actually going to ask permission from Sarah Gem Media, which I'm making public now, that whole week it's about putting our house in order. So we would bring together like life insurance specialists, critical illness insurance specialists, lawyers, religious leaders, funeral directors, community people, just so that, you know, we put on programs that week that people would be more educated. Because I think most times the other place where people then can get mixed up, when you talk to people, they say to you, oh, but I get life insurance. You have life insurance, but life insurance is different from critical illness insurance. And life insurance is different from funeral plan insurance. Now, life insurance only kicks in after you've died. And when you've died, it's a process. And again, sometimes people go just to the bank and take a £10 life insurance. People go to post offices or online and take these life insurances. Have you looked into it? Have you read into it in detail? Have you made sure you've read the small print? Because sometimes I've had people who have been paying into insurances many, many, many years. And when it comes to time for it to be cashed out, because of simple error during their application, that insurance becomes null and void. And also your life insurance is unable to pay for your funeral because that money the process doesn't materialize sometimes for months. So when you're taking an insurance, when you go to your insurance broker, you should be asking for the 3 different types of insurances: your critical illness insurance, your funeral plan insurance, and your life insurance. Now, for most people who've got mortgages in the Western world, I think in most countries or for most mortgage lenders, life insurance is a requirement. It's part and parcel of the mortgage package. So whether you like it or not, you have to have it. But for those who don't have a property of their own, as in a mortgage, it is up to you. And just like we take phone insurance, when you buy yourself a brand new iPhone or Android or Samsung, you take insurance. So if it drops, accidental insurance or theft or lost. The same with a car. When you buy a car, you're not allowed to drive it without an insurance. So why not take an insurance on your life, which is also at risk at any time? So these are the things we need to think about. These are the things we need to put when we say put your house in order. Put things in order so that it makes it not just easier for your loved ones, but for yourself. For example, we're talking about critical illness. Critical illness is something you benefit from when you're still alive. So if you've got a critical illness payout that you're doing, maybe £30 a month, and when you become ill of certain illnesses, we all know, I don't know about you guys in North America, Juma, but in the UK here, there's very, very, very few jobs that will pay you for full pay for 6 months and you're off sick. There's very few jobs.
It's the same here.
And we know one of the jobs, one of the employers that does that is NHS. But very few organizations, and also it depends on how long you've been in service. It also really depends on length of service. My workplace, if you've been in length of service for more than 5 years, then you get 6 months full pay. But if you've been in length of service between 2 to 5 years, you get just 2 months sick pay. Now, if you have a major illness where you have to be off work for a number of months and you've still got your bills to pay, you still have, children to look after and so on and so forth, your finances becomes depleted. That is going to add on top of your worry.
I think it's what's in the US. If you don't have your private insurance, apart from your health insurance, if you don't have that long-term disability insurance kind of thing that you pay into, you feel the brunt of it. Sadly, we've seen people who have been working really hard. Some have worked for 20, 30, 40 years. They get ill. That U-turn makes it really tough for them. And sometimes they end up selling their houses. Yeah. Just to make sure that they take care of themselves, like even with the cancer situation, we've seen people who, after a year or two, they are left in a situation wherein they have to sell their houses to pay their medical bills, and that will not even be sufficient. So this is why it's important. And don't just say, oh, this only they happen to it, man them, they happen to it. No. Do it when you need it. If you don't need it, then that's fine. At least don't be in a situation where you need it, then you start saying, had I known, we say, na salon, I call them, if I be no, na anything can last.
If I be no, had I known is the sister of regrets.
Exactly.
Had I known is the sister of regrets. And like we say, Juma, it's important because I think a lot of people, what affects them, sometimes this money it accumulates, sometimes £50 here, £30 here, or dollars, and people find it very difficult to pay that money. But then some of these people who find this very difficult to pay, they'll go to 2 events in a month, which will cost them over £200. Because by the time they bought their tickets, by the time they bought their outfits, it's already cost them over £200. But they find it difficult to pay £50 a month for a decent insurance package that would incorporate funeral, critical, and life insurance. Also, I'm also pleading to people who work tirelessly, but invest, especially us in the diaspora. They work tirelessly, but invest everything back in Africa. There's nothing wrong with investing in Africa, but try and have that balance. Because what, again, I've seen time and time again, people who've worked tirelessly, they're serious, their work ethics is fantastic, it's optimal. But all the dividend goes to Africa. And then when they're faced with situations where they're in financial difficulties or they even die, all that wealth they've accumulated in Africa is not able to be transferred back to the diaspora to meet their needs or to meet the needs of their loved ones. So these are the things we have to think about. We have to strongly think about and try and prioritize, really try and prioritize and look after where we are and put our house in order, So Femi or Tiboy, I don't know if you want to say something, and Juma, so that we can just about round the day, because this is a conversation we can have endlessly.
I just want to add one example again. Because I like for deal with real life situation them, and I think it's very helpful. I remember, good years back, good years. I had an uncle who lived in France. Okay. He woke and all of those things. Then for some reason, can get some kind terminal illness. And, then prepare time for and say, XYZ dates, will pass. So, but because if you don't make him plans, they say if he really, really sick to that situation, or he die, he won't let them go bury, and we have a family in Guinea as well. So if we want let them go bury in Guinea, or if he's sick, we're not going to do something before he suffer in France, let them care and go to family. That was one thing he did, which was good. Then he been getting life insurance, he get other things. And he been get beneficiaries as well. So then can go Guinea, he got there today, 2 days later now he died. Because by the time I'm going to be able to talk again and everything. But because they don't make them plans, this is not possible. If you write a big like a stadium or you building, sabi read that. But he made those plans. So when he died, like you say, smooth transition, then we don't can go, he don't die now, and what you call him. Then call him beneficiaries. The beneficiaries, they don't live in France. They lived in Guinea. Then call them all. Everything, when are the benefits where it be left, the beneficiaries, the way it been put in them, now they then make sure they then transfer everything. So that is the power of planning. So if you do the same, you can still get beneficiaries in Africa. They don't necessarily need for the Naya. So as long as they have an email, then get a phone number, they will be contacted. So all the time for Siaisata and the rest of the thing, it's not bad at all. I thought it was going to be a depressing conversation. It became much more exciting than I expected. Thank you so much, and over to you guys.
Over to you. Thank you, Jimam. It is always an interesting conversation. I think it's just human nature. When people see the word death or dying, all they think about is sadness and fear and anxiety. But it is quite an interesting word to explore and to discuss it and to reflect upon it. And for me, sometimes people wonder, why am I so attracted to such conversations? One of the reasons why I'm attracted to such conversations, because it's the environment I grew in. My father died when I was at university. And again, he had a similar situation where he was ill, he was given a prognosis, and because he was Muslim, he didn't want to die in the UK. He decided he was going to go back home because that's where he wanted to be, that's where he wanted to die. And he made all his plans, and he made his will. And 22 years on, because of the way he made his will, us, his children, have no choice. We have to stay together. And that is the beauty of it. Whether we like it or not, whether we love each other or not, whether we fight each other or not, because of the way he created his will, we have no choice, but we have to be together one way or another. And because he died when I was still at school, and my older sibling and my younger sibling, we were still at school, and we relied on his monthly allowance to get on in life, he made sure he set up a trust fund, which they behave as if they're your parents. So every month they give you a certain amount of money, where it should go, and so on and so forth. So these are the reasons why, and that made a lot of difference in my life. It made me grieve my dad, and I didn't have anything else to worry about. I didn't have to worry about, where would my allowance come from now? Do I have to go find a job now? What's gonna happen? Or when I go back to Sierra Leone, would I be kicked out of my family home? Do I no longer have a family home? No. And because of that, I was able to mourn him as I should. I didn't have any of those worries. So that is why, for me, it is important to talk about these things and have these discussions, because we have to put our house in order. Over to you, Femi.
Hello, Isata Juma T-Boy, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so this discussion keeps going on. It's very interesting. If we go back to Freetown, I don't want to speak about the whole of Sierra Leone because I don't know Salone that much, but I know Freetown, that they are born. So many families are struggling with inheritance problem because we're scared to plan. We born 6, 7 pikin. When we die, we don't left wahala give them, because now you estate with something now you be own now than 6 or then 7 plus your spouse 8. Then if your spouse go married other person, that person they you picking them, and so on and so on. The earlier you deal with NTSO, the better, because sometimes now 2 people no more get for sheep. But if you not deal with them 10 years pass, sometimes you die then, now 20, 30 people get for sheep. So and say when it comes to that now, a headache, because they never can value the property, they never can sell the house, who don't go and sell because it gets emotional ties to the place, other one sell because in the dire needs of money. All them tears, so they bring family issues, family then they scatter. We know loads of these problems in Freetown. We they see bodos them, team up. Nobody know they look after them. Everybody neglect them because the post will be own them, no do the right thing. He left and so all in picking them. They all in picking and unable for do anything, and then eventually the house falls into disrepair. So it is important that we plan, as you guys are saying, not to just for we, but for we picking them, so that we not give them the headache for can deal with we property them or we estate as we can call them. What my man tell me say, he puts in plan in place. So he kinda us. Now I tell him he say, I don't go do a will. Now I say, okay. Then go, then do all kinds of things, and then sit down for it. He said the wife begin watch and funny. Then go lay down a bed. The wife begin watch and funny. The next day, he dey eat breakfast, and so the wife they watch him. Now I call the woman, he say, listen, nothing no do me. I just dey prepare no more. Because the woman now enable sleep, enable eat. He remember say, the woman don't go right will so something. Now go they can go so. So she, he begin wondering. So, communication is key. You write your will, you not get for tell anybody. But if you tell you explain the reasons. Not to because we sick or we can't die, make what they do then so. Now for any life as soon as say, because we don't know waiting tomorrow hold. You don't know who's motoka you go sit down. You don't know who's aeroplane you go sit down. Look that boxer, sorry not boxer, basketball player last year. Healthy man, wealthy, jumped into a helicopter, he died. And apart from him dying, he was 30 something, he died within 14-year-old Pekin. So you see, God not give we any of we the vision for no when we tame the camp. So really and truly we should really and truly try for put things in order for tomorrow, because we don't know waiting tomorrow hold.
Thank you so much for so much for that, Femi. T-Boy, do you want to say anything for round up the program? You get one or two word today.
As you always know, Mickey been at the edge of every discussion. They look too much laugh. But anyway, what thing I want to say now, two things. One, you will very important, but if you look at history in Sierra Leone, sometimes we will make some of the beginning of the born not become serious because they rely on the wealth of their parents. So it makes some of them not learn book, some of them not even get work for do because they say, my papa gets 10 os, we die, I get 10 os for live with. Again, if you say the bill owes them now for Licky picking and can inherit time, you're not doing it in any bad faith, now because you want to make you picking them live a better life. Like Femi just mentioned, the picking them something can really look after the host them, and they fight for the host go broke, nobody not care. But bear this in mind. You papa in property, not in property. Now you papa in property. As much as you papa work hard, or you parents them, they work hard, they focus on their own livelihood, and make sure say they live a comfortable life. Equally so, yourself for prepare for do that for yourself. Because if you depend and rely on your papa and property, then it means you don't have any hope in life. Because what's in the happen now in Africa, in Salon, in the diaspora, if they get some funerals the way they happen, where as I mentioned earlier on, sometimes there is not even money to bury the dead. But also, the dead is also burying the dead. Because it means the wealth we left, then back in the take for burial. So as family, look will not allow that to happen. As soon as person die, all man don't begin ask, where this? You got insurance? Where in work? Where done they? Where in savings? All that is not relevant. If that person they put in house in order, they don't distribute in wealth, they don't distribute in clothes the way they wear, they don't distribute in things the way get 9 O's, that the choice that way you make. Make that choice do not affect your well-being. Make that choice do not affect your relationship with your siblings them. Make that choice do not affect your relationship with the family. Make it not affect your relationship with your friends them. Make that choice do not put you in a position where you feel say you day where you're not supposed for day. A choice of an individual is the choice of that individual and not yours. So for as long as you're ready for make you real, for as long as you're ready for put your house to order, make sure, see your dependents that you're going to leave behind will not be in the position to fight for your wealth. That will destroy the good intentions we try for put together for where you could die. So your will is your will and nobody else's will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, T-Boy. That was less of a controversy. I thought you were going to bring in some controversial points, but I think that was well-rounded and very important, and very, very important message to take home. Juma, do you need to say anything? Do you want to say anything? And then I can round up and we can say tata to our lovely viewers.
Well, thank you so much to, okay, I think Femi has something to say. Go ahead, Femi.
Oh, yes.
Hello, sorry. I forgot. There was one thing I wanted to mention. You guys, on Abni talk about family and relocating, going back home, and if you die, you picking a no waiting the happen. Now you country, they might not be interested for go back after you don't die. You know, for me, it's very important to always stay connected. For make we encourage we begin for no usa we come out. If you not do when you are alive, when you don't die, there's a lot of risk. Say we don't lose your bloodline because most of them Picasso will never ever go back. So it's imperative that where you there around, you get strength. Now for encourage you picking them for go see who side they originate from. This Nigerian lady, there was this video circulating a few weeks ago. This Nigerian lady saying uncle was a very wealthy man, done in the diaspora for so long, returned back to Nigeria, built a massive house, and died, not of old age, but he died unexpectedly. I'm not going to say untimely because I still don't correct him, say no untimely death, not day. When the man died, because the man wealthy, he gets various houses, he gets one big mansion, then beggar inside the mansion. So then beggar at the yard. But this house, then a prominent location, the house is nice. After a couple of years, the Pekin them decide say, then they sell him papa in property then in Nigeria. Because then they abroad. They don't really care to go back to Nigeria. Then sell yours. Then sell yours and sell them papa and body. They not even know say them papa and body there because they did not even go to the funeral. So they didn't have any links to the country. So then sell the horse, then sell the gun, then sell them papa in body. When they don't sell the papa in body, then can the people away buy the land, then can build big almost story apartment blocks in it. One day one farm will come out, say anyone can see this man, women they help him, this and that. Now I ask outside them bed the man you can go, tell and take in a grave. Now they say them bed the man in compound though. When they go look compound now there again. Then see this massive thing they. When they ask the beginning and the beginning say, we don't know nothing. We sold the house. So you see how important, apart from planning, it is key that we family, especially we were then funny science on the wall, we spouse them if we married into another community, make we picking them, know we wishes them. Make them, if sometimes the picking not be no in their own good, sometimes they not be no say them papa boy me them bed na yard. Sometimes if you say papa then na some cemetery. But sometimes I don't cannot make excuses for them. They sold their dad, they sold the thing. It is ridiculous, but it's the truth. If you not plan and you not communicate to the right people them waiting na your wishes and waiting you want for me then do with you where you don't go and you think them. Other people will inherit you. In this case, so next people and go inherit the pine body. God knows what and do with them.
Wow.
I see T-Boy want to say something, Juma.
Yeah, let T-Boy go ahead.
I just want for Rob something quick on what Femi say. Now something we I think almost a year or two ago. This man, they Europe, and then he getting family in a salon, for example. But this man, now they communicate with his family, now know that and be in people they don't get money, all they get and say, yeah, go get a better life and lick you support to it. I see go, now you abandon them. And they send for them, and they talk to them, and they phone them, nothing. He just cut the family off. He can marry with too many, one boku picking them. But sadly, he died. Accidental death. And then the woman we can marry begin things say, no, this man, he always talk about his family then back home, but he not really communicates with them. But he get a number. Now phone them and tell them, say, una brother don't die you, and in which na been for go beg in country. So what's in the happen? Now he the brother pick the phone when the woman call him. Hello. He say, yes, so this is the person they call from side. Una brother don't die. But what for bringing body come, look who can beg him, for example, na salon. So they can make the arrangement. Now the guy say, me brother, the way we die, I beg them not bring kaya. So the man ask, why? He say, that man, we don't suffer for him. We don't put all things together for him. We don't send and go abroad for making help, for support, for look after we. Where you go? You not get with time, you need to talk to we, you need to even bother for see how they live. Now we don't down, now look who can't talk in begging back again, the small tool to get back and pull and back for go beg them. No, una beg and they, now they even want for go, now they God say they die, now they una for beg them, but we know nobody man they again. The reason why I pull this story, now for make reference to what Femi just say, like we continue for the take we picking and go back home, but not just we picking them, we self now we responsibility for make sure say we continue with communication lineage with the people who left back home, because not just that you have a befitting funeral if you're taken back home, but you also will have thousands of people who will be back home to follow the journey of your final destination. Because we've seen it, it has happened, and we don't witness them within the past year during COVID. So look, we also continue for put that in the back of we mind, not just about writing your will, continue for create that line of communication for making no break between you and your loved ones. It's very important. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's a good story. Over to you, Juma.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if Mr. Palmer wants to add anything before I go. You wanna? Okay. Very interesting. Thank you. I like the two, real life story them way T-Boy and Femi mentioned, and it's nice that we they get some of them things because I'm able for make clear we put Lord bring them closer to home. Just one more thing we myself want for add, not a story, but just one for advice, because sometimes then the issue about life insurance, very important within the community, because a lot of people afraid say, they can't take life insurance because if I take life insurance and they can't kill me just now. Then they wish lad die, they put poison on my food, then go suffocate me middle net. No, it's not going to happen that way. Remember, we started this conversation, say how for prepare. And we mentioned things about your will, your, your, what you call advanced directive. But we mentioned something critical we will not go into in details when at the law. If you die in certain way, where become a suspicious death or something not right, the first thing where then they go to now the law say them for do post-mortem and autopsy for find out the cause of death. And if somebody gets life insurance, part of it mostly the one for know the cause of death. Because then story then they would only see people like the fake death, we don't see so many things the way they happen. So not afraid for take your life insurance if you need for take them because you think say the person you near you not trust them. But how you go there in a relationship where you not even trust that person to the point where you think say it will kill you for inherit your life insurance. So I just want for add down there. But I like Janet Musa in statement there. Your will is your word and must be respected. Well, we lawyer talk, you understand what's in the mean. Thank you so much, Janet, for that. I will hand them over to Isata and say it's been a wonderful program, and we hope for sooner next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Do we have something tomorrow, T-Boy?
No, not really. Tomorrow is Friday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, you have something tomorrow. Tomorrow
yes,
you have
yes.
All right, over to you, Femi.
Yes. Femi should yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Femi, over to you. We have something very exciting.
Femi and myself share that platform.
Okay.
So tomorrow we have to vax or not to vax, a discussion from the Sierra Leone for Development Organization, which is just an organization by Sierra Leoneans for Sierra Leoneans to promote education, knowledge, and development and raise awareness. So today, we've touched on a serious topic that everybody or most people find very depressing and sad and scary to talk about. But we've managed to make it interesting. We've shared live stories, we've experiences. We've touched on a lot of what we've talked about we've just touched on things. For example, we didn't even go into depth about the importance of sharing your password with someone you trust. The reason why we didn't go into that, because I think that alone would be a whole topic of a day, because we didn't want it to lose focus. We didn't want it to distract what we were talking about. We're talking about today putting your house in order, putting things in place so when and if you die, your loved ones know exactly what to do, what you want, and how to execute it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're preempting death. It just means preparedness. They say failing to plan is planning to fail. And when it comes to death and dying, where it's full of overwhelming emotions, it creates more issues when there's no plan in place, when there's no financial support in place, where there's no legal entities in place. It puts a burden on the people that sometimes don't even know you well, or when you were alive, they didn't mean well for you. And all of a sudden, they're the decision makers. They will decide what color shirt you wear, what color dress, where you should be buried, how you should be buried, and where your children will end up, or where your loved ones or other dependents like your parents, how they will end up, and so on and so forth. So it's very, very important we think about these things. I want to thank all our active viewers today. Our viewers have been quite active. They've talked a lot about different things. They've shared their own experience. Thank you, Janet. Yes, life insurance is very important too. Not true. Advance directive, very important. Make your family then know what you go want when you're not able to talk for yourself. You just hit the nail on the head, Janet. Thank you so much. It's very important. And Janet mentioned, say, we culture not a support will business. However, polygamous families then definitely need them. parents them for left will. Janet, it's not just the polygamous family, because I've seen families where it's a nuclear family, mama, papa, 2 children, and there's a huge amount of sibling rivalry. And when one parent dies, it creates a lot of problems. Where there's favoritism sometimes, where there's family dynamics. So equally, being in a nuclear family or polygamous or monogamous family, it still is a problem. It's good and important to put your house together. Like I said, this was just a taster. In May, week beginning the 11th of May, it is Dying Matters Week. And within that week, we would call on different professionals, such as insurance brokers, funeral directors, lawyers, community leaders, so that we can come and discuss this, the ins and outs of the process of dying, death, and what happens next, and the preparedness of it. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you all. Next week, I'll see you again. And of course, tomorrow, I'll see you again. Have a lovely weekend. Look after yourself. Think fervently about what we've discussed today. It is very important. A will is not just for somebody who has acquired wealth. You might not own your own property, you might not own a car, but the fact that you have a child, it is important to write a will, because within that will, you can also incorporate guardianship if something goes wrong and that child is still meant to be under parental responsibility. So we wanted to thank you. Una continue for support we, una continue for join we, and continue for support the Health Shows Current project, which is the Ward 2 project in Connaught Hospital, which is to do with breast cancer patients. We are looking to refurbish that ward, and our target fundraising amount is £15,000. So please, 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 every little counts, and we will appreciate it dearly. So thank you, and have a good night. Tata.
All right.
Until
Thank you so
we
much,
see again.
Isata. Thank you very much. I know I'm for going to, but I just want to bring Femi Camp quick. Let a just get a rundown on waiting tomorrow program will look like. The reason being, since it's not our usual Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so he might want to give you a taster, just like for both of us, which you say Isata on our project tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting conversation. And go ahead, Femi. Quickly.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, sir.
So tomorrow's program, it's literally we're talking about the vaccination, the COVID vaccination. It's a discussion program, and we're gonna have people on the panel, mainly doctors. So we have a series of doctors. We also get people from the clergy. I think so. We get an imam and a pastor, or a reverend. I'm not sure. But we also have some other community workers as well. So community people, they're coming in to discuss COVID vaccine. The only way they for the vaccine and the only way not they for the vaccine. I think it will be an interesting thing to see how most of us think before we hear some of the information where they can give it, and then it go fine for me. We know what we think after the thing done. So it's going to be an interesting program. The team has a lot with them they work on for being cancer. So I talked to some of the doctors today, and they're super excited to be on the platform.
So just to clarify, not everyone is pro-vaccine. So some people and they not argue against.
Yeah, say in civilization you always have two sides to every story.
Right.
Should I say three sides to every story? There's
So
usually your side, my
yeah.
side, and the truth, which usually sits somewhere in between.
Right. So tomorrow on a come here, and this mostly na Sierra Leone, and then we can speak on the issues.
Yes,
and it will be an exciting. And like what Femi say as well, what you believe now, and what you go here during, and how you go, how that they go aid you later on. So joining tomorrow will be nice. Thank you so much, Isata, one more time for bringing this topic and the health show. And I'm sure it's going to be exciting day tomorrow and exciting week next week. So on behalf of all, I want to once more say Tata.
Fellow Regentonians, friends and loved ones, ladies and gentlemen, you are invited to join the Sierra Leone Grammar School Old Boys Association, United Kingdom and Europe at their 176th Thanksgiving virtual service on Sunday the 28th of March 2021 at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time and 10 a.m. United States Eastern Time. The theme this year is On Christ the Solid Rock I Stand. The sermon is by the Reverend Ola Crown, a fellow Regentonian. For more information about the virtual service, please log on to www.stemforslgs175.com www.stemforslgs175.com. Then click Read More to access the Thanksgiving events page. The Zoom meeting ID is 833-6430-3612. 833-6430-3612. The password is SLGS175+1. Uppercase SLGS175+1. Please join us in giving thanks to the Almighty God for 176 years of fortitude, perseverance, and excellence. Thank you.
When he shall come with trumpet sound.
Now who's term this? Yes, this na term for all Salon people and them party them. Sierra Leone Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports, and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy, and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the President's Hour and the Gladi program, Look Me, I Look You. All this, they start soon na www.sarahjmedia.org. Now who's term these?
As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sierra Leone Media Production brings you Zoom In. Zooming In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers, and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zooming In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zooming In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zooming In ask those questions that has never been asked before. So, join me, host Chumaba.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible acts.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now, women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now. Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
I was raped multiple times by my aunt's boyfriend when I was 6.
I was repeatedly raped at the age of 8 by a close family member.
I was raped at 19. I didn't speak openly about it because I was ashamed and afraid that people would judge me.
I was raped at age 5 by my caregiver's husband.
On June 17th, 2020, 5-year-old Khadija Sakho, a beautiful little girl from Freetown, Sierra Leone, was repeatedly raped and strangled to death, allegedly by her own cousin. Her death shocked the nation. But in truth, in this small West African country, 9 out of 10 girls experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10. That's 90%. My name is Aisha Sasay. I'm a journalist and activist. I'm joining forces with Idris Elba and other activists from across Sierra Leone to support the survivors of sexual violence with the Survivors Solidarity Fund. Please consider donating whatever you can afford. All monies raised will go to 4 local organizations currently providing free medical and legal services to survivors. 5-year-old Khadija lost her life to sexual violence. That same threat remains for millions of others. So this is also a call for you to use your voice, your power, to draw attention to an enduring culture of rape. Together, we must end it now. My name is Aisha Sasay. I am Khadija Sakho.
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 We are Khadija Sakho.
We are all Khadija Sakho.